Happy Sabbath once again. Happy day. Let's pray. Dear God, we thank you once again. We thank you for the session that has ended, the song service. We are starting another session as we continue with the same thoughts of our experience. Be with us, guide us, give us clarity of thoughts. May we understand what you want us to understand today. Is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. So I just want us to continue with the study that we were doing in the morning. So this session is supposed to be Emily's session, but she's not around. I think most of us, you were in the class in the morning. So what we have looked at, I don't think I will be able to do a summary because most of us, you were there. I think around 3/4 of the class. Ajora, you are there? Okay, so for the sake of Ochora, Festus, and Peki, I'll do the summary. So we are looking at the two experiences of God's people in the history of the Sunday law. We started from Peter. Basically, Peter is telling us the importance of us revisiting that which already we know so that we can be established on the present truth. So Peter is standing the present, revising already what we have for them to have affirm all the establishment on the present truth. So for us to understand the true experiences of God's people, I took it to Matthew 13. So in the book of Matthew 13, we know it's speaking of several parables, maybe around 8, I'm not sure, but there are many parables in the book of Matthew 13. So we picked the parable of the tares, parable of the tares. So we identified the subjects that you can be able to see in the parable of Matthew 13. We saw there is field, there is sower, there is reapers, there is enemy, there is wheat, two types of plants, wheat and tares, there is servant, there is a householder. Really, householder is the sower. So we went to the explanation. The explanation is Matthew 13, 36 and to 43. So in the explanation, we were able to see that the field is the world, the sower is the Son of Man, the reapers is the angels, the enemy that sowed the tares is the devil, and the wheat is the children of the kingdom, God's people, the tares are the children of the wicked. Then the servant is not explained in the parable, and the householder is the sower. So we were able to notice that the servants are not explained in the parable. So we don't know what the servants represent according to the parable. But what we do know in the parable, the servants are not the reapers. So they are not doing the work of they have a work to do, but they are not doing the work of separating the wheat and the tares. So we went here, we saw from the explanation verses 36, I think, we can be able to see that the parable is, the title of the parable is the parable of the tares, not the parable of wheat and tares. Because the disciples will say, come to Christ and tell Christ, declare for us the parable of the field, the parable of the tares of the field. So that's where we find the title of the parable. We went further ahead to explain or to just gather the information that we know about plants. So the plants we saw, they are in the field, they grow in the field. The wheat, when it comes to the wheat, they are God's people, and we concluded that they are connected to the field. The connection we are talking about is they are the ones which receives rain, sunshine, and all of that in the field. So we gave the theme of the parable because we said when you analyze the parable, we went to plants. So the plants will help us find the theme. So we saw that we have two plants and they need to grow together, but there is a time there is separation to be done. And we saw the theme, I think correctly free here, we said that the theme is separation. And we went to Spirit of Prophecy, 333, paragraph 1. Aaron White will affirm that indeed the parable of the wheat and the wheat and the tares, or the tares, and the parable of the fishing net is talking about the final separation. We saw that in verse 49, we see the server, which means really to separate. So the two parables, the theme is final separation. So we went ahead and looked at the servants. So what do we know about the servants? So we said the information that we can be able to see from the parable is the servants are workers of the householder. So it means that they are workers. And another thing is they are separate from reapers. So the servants are not reapers according to the parable. And also we said they are not connected to the field. And I said what I had in mind by saying not connected in the field, they are not the one receiving the rain, the early rain and the latter rain and everything. They are not. Their work is just to monitor what's happening in the field. And another thing that we talked about, I think we added the monitoring and giving report to the householder. So they come and monitor what's happening in the field. They take report. So they are just workers in the field. And we said they have the ability to identify the tares. Because when you read verse 27, they will come to the householder and tell the householder that you saw good seeds in the field, but we can be able to see tares. Where did the tares come from? And they wanted to separate the tares, but they are told that's not your work. I will tell the reapers, because it is the work of the reapers, let them grow together. When harvest will come, then the reapers will do that work. So it's not their work to separate the tares from the wheat. And I said, in one word, we can say them being having the ability to identify the wheat from the tares, they are really doing the work of judging. So they are separating all, they are doing the work of judging. So we gave another, like proof texting really, a concept of judging. So we went to Matthew 7:1-2 here. So when you look at the word judge, it's G2919, which means to separate, or to put asunder, or to pick out. And also another thing that we talked about the servant, as we said, they don't live in the field. Where we saw they live is the householder whom they are working for has a house. So the householder doesn't also live in the field, has came and saw the seed and went to his house, so lives in a house. So the servants also comes from the householder, so they live in the house also. We went to Matthew 13. We said Matthew 13, this story, we can connect it to Revelation 14. And what helped us, or what gives us license to do so, it is the concept of harvest. When you come to Revelation 14, you can be able to see Revelation 14, if you divide it into two, we have verses 1, I think verses 1 around to 5, speaking of the 144 with the lamb at Mount Zion. Then you have the everlasting gospel, first angel, second, third angel. Then you have harvest. So you can divide it into two. You have the everlasting gospel and the harvest concept. Then we come to Matthew 13. Also, I divided Matthew 13 into two sections: the servants and the reapers. I think that's so far what we did. So I think we can continue from there and see how far we can go. And if we have questions, then I think we can, I'll finish maybe earlier. We ask the question and we can answer them, maybe Q&A. That is it. So when I was finishing, I said we can try to understand. I said this: when you look at Revelation 14, Revelation 14 is symbolic. When you look at the angels that having the everlasting gospel, the third angel, those are symbolic. So if that is the case, also this harvest, the Son of Man, the angel, has to be symbolic. And William Miller will tell you, once something is a symbol, it means has a a meaning, symbolic meaning, has to be interpreted. So we will understand uh, the Son of Man and the angels who they are going to represent. Because when you align it, they are reapers. So our question that we can be able to answer is the reapers are who? But remember, we do not have the servants explanation, but we were told from the parable the reapers are the angels. So the angels are who at the end of the world. But I don't want first to go with this one. I just want to understand the servants, because it is the only symbol that we do not explain here. So I want us to go through this. So align this and this. So when you look at Matthew 13, so I'll put the first angel here, second angel, third angel. So in the language of Matthew 13, since we have taken these as symbols, can we be able to identify these being symbolized in the parable of Matthew 13? Can we be able to allocate the first angel, the second angel, and the third angel will be representing what? So that's what I want us to do. And I'm not going to do it me alone. We will do it as a group. So this is where Matthew 13. Festus, we are Matthew 13, yeah? First angel, second angel, third angel. What's your thoughts? No, speak around. You usually speak around. So I can't hear. Okay. And also you will explain to Judy to understand that why you have made the sower to be the first angel. Okay, so the sower. So we have two sowers here. Sindio Festo, the enemy and the Son of Man. Okay, nevertheless, let's go. The sower to be the angel. The second, the second, servant. So this is Festus. The third, reapers. That's Festus. The sower, the first angel. The second angel, servants. And the third angel, reapers. Okay? Joy, what do you think? One idea. It's okay. Carl, not sure. Gladys, you agree with Festus. So this Festus and Gladys, they agree. Malang, do you have any thoughts here? Mm. You are not able to? Okay. Esther, same as Festus. Do, uh-huh. Okay. Servants. Okay, so we have two thoughts. The first angel sower, servant, reapers. Servant, servant, servant. Anyone who has different thoughts other than that? Mwangi, uko wapi? Uko kwa Kal? Okay. So we have Mwangi Kal. Anybody who has different thoughts? Maybe I will also try to give my thoughts, but we can discuss it maybe baadaye. So the first angel, for me, I think, yeah, I agree with Festus, the sower. Is this how the sower is written? Is there R? Juu kuna R? Hakuna. Sower. Oh, iko sawa. So I will agree, we have the first angel is the sower. Festus alieka the servants. For me, I think the second will be the plants, and the third I'll put the servants. The third angel doesn't do harvest. Festus, where does the message of the third angel end? Second advent? Third. Because you've put the third as reapers. Where do we mark the harvest beginning? Or where do you mark, according to you, the beginning of the third angel and the end of it? In a line. Sandelo to COP. And harvest, same time, Sandero to COP. Yes? Okay. Do you agree that? So maybe let me have this. We have 4 dispensations. Sowing, there is rain, another rain, there is harvest. And if we go with our structure here, there is first, second, third, then there is harvest. So if we divide that way, so the harvest is in this dispensation, not in this dispensation first, as according to agricultural model. So for me, I won't put the third angel as the reapers. I put the servants as the work of the third angel. Yes.
Naturally, a sower is working on behalf of the household.
Naturally, the servants. Okay.
A sower is working.
The servants. The sower doesn't. Ah?
The servants, yes.
Yeah.
Is working on behalf of the household.
Mm-hmm.
In times of sowing and name all kinds. And really, place those things, a sower, servant, and reapers. Who are the reapers working on behalf of? Naturally.
Mm-hmm.
It is the household. To me, I'm trying to think, I don't know whether it will go away from where I study. The job functions of the servants are dictated by time. When it's time for sowing, they are all sowers.
Uh-huh.
When it's time for reaping time, they are all reapers.
So,
Their job function is dictated by time.
so you are saying that the servants are reapers, but it is depends on
Time-based.
time-based.
Yes.
Okay. But naturally, the parable says the servants are not reapers. But now you want to make the application servants are reapers. They are two different people. You have servants, you have reapers. They are doing different work. So when you come to application, you will mark the servants being the reapers. Okay, you will show us how the servants become reapers. Si ni kweli? Yeah. Oh, what I've asked. Oh, okay. So, okay, before we go to that, before I give Ken and Malang to explain how they can move the servants to be equal to the reapers, they can take us steps. I just wanted us first to agree on this. We are here. The sower, the first, the second, third, as you have the sower, the servant, the reapers, and you have the servants both, and you have the sower plants and the servants. So for me, let me just explain with my story, but we can give an explanation, or maybe Q&A, we can discuss more about this one. Yeah. So if I've said the first angel is the sower that sowed the seed, and the second angel is the plants, and the servant is the third. Then when you look at the sower, the seed, and the plant, we can see that these are connected to the field. The seed is going to be sowed in the field, and the plants are going to grow onto the in the field. So you see, the plants, the seed and the plants is the experience in the field. The plants are experiencing what's happening in the field. So you'll see this is the experience connected to the field. I hope we can be able to see that. But when it comes to the servants, we said the servants does not experience what's happening in the field. They are just observers, or monitoring, what we said, all checking the plants. So this represents the work which they do, these people they do. So when you come to the third angel, I say the third angel is a representative of Carl. When we talk about third angel, the one that Aaron White to say having a message of warning, who is that angel? A symbol of. The third angel is a symbol of the angels from heaven.
The symbol of God's people who will give that message.
So the third angel is a symbol of God's people. That I'll doing what? I'll giving message. I'll say judging here. So the servants then, I will say they are God's people. But God's people who are doing the work of observing, or doing the work of taking care of the plants in the field. So at this point, remember when we talked about the plants here, we were given as a symbol of God's people. And we have developed, or we have looked for the explanation of who the servants are. And we've said the servants are third angel, so we said plants, that's the wheat, they are God's people. And also now we are saying, or we have developed the servants, which is the third angel, equals to also God's people. So we see two symbols of God's people, being a plant and being servants. So what we are not allowed to do is what Ken was doing in the first class. That you go to Matthew 13, you see the servant there, you make a direct application that servants are God's people. Yet the parable says no explanation about servants. So what we are required to do is to find the servants, is to move from Matthew 13 to Revelation 14 to us. So the us is now the application. So these are, I think, the appropriate steps for you to find the servants, who the servants are, as the servants are God's people. And I can argue it's the same you can do, because Matthew 13, you have been given a reapers. 14, you have different people that are doing the work of harvest. Then you need application. So I think even Revelation 14, in this story, you can be able to find who the reapers are. But I rest that to Ken and Marang to take us through that step. So before I do that, so we see God's people are having two experiences. The experience of them being impacted of what's happening in the field. They are part of what's happening in the field. They are part of the problem. And there is another angle or another aspect where God's people are not affected by what's happening in the field, or they are doing the work of observing or checking what's happening in the field. So these are the two experiences. So I'll say impacted of, let me write it here. So God's people as plants, God's people as plants, I'll say, one, they are impacted on what's happening in the field. They go through an experience connected to the field, which you can say in brackets, they are part of the great controversy, part of the problem, which I call the whatever that is happening in the field. You can see the controversy. The Son of Man sowed, the enemy came and saw. So we have the two plants competing on when it comes to the nutrients, or whether it's rain, there is competition that is there. That's what we call the great controversy. So I say they are impacted, or they are part of the problem. So in this case, I'll be able to say I'm open for correction. I say God's people are going to be tested. God's people are tested, which we can be able to say that they are being judged or being examined. That is experience number one. Experience two, God's people, when it comes to now the aspect of servants, God's people has also another experience. So here, God's people are not affected on what's happening in the field. They are observers. Therefore, they are judging. You remember how we developed the work of judgment? So they are judging. all doing what we are called examining. They are not being examined, examining, all doing the work of testing. Therefore, the two experiences that we see when it comes to God's people, there is God's people need to be tested, God's people testing. So those are the two experiences that we can be able to hold into our mind. Testing, God's people tested, and God's people testing. God's people judged, all examined, and God's people are doing this work of examining, all they are examiners. So before I move to what I want, because I just want now to move to when can we see this thing happening? When God's people are tested, and when do we see God's people judging or examining? So before that, so Ken, explain for us how the reapers are servants.
You can repeat how we arrived to servants are God's people. Just that.
Here, when you combine Revelation 14 and Matthew 13, so we divided into two parts, the everlasting gospel and the harvest. When you come to Matthew 13, also this is work, Sindio, they do. So we have also first Matthew 13, we have the servants doing work. Here, servants, and we have the reapers. But here we wanted to expand more this concept of first, second, third angel and the harvest in Matthew 13. How can we see that? Then we said, when you go to the first angel, second angel, third angel, how can we apply these symbols using Matthew 13? So we saw first angel, we need to find who is the first angel, the second angel, and the third angel according to Matthew 13. So we applied, I think we had different thoughts here. So I said that the first angel, I will apply it to the sower, the one that sowed the seed. Then the second will be the third, the plants. And I said this too is the experience that we see, the experience that is connected to the field. Because the seed is the ones that is going to grow to the plant and is growing in the field. Then you see there is a servant, they are doing work, but they are not doing the same work as the plants. They are not experiencing whatever is happening in the field. For them, they are just observers of what's happening in the field. So at the end of the day, we have two things. There is the experience of connected to the field, and there is another experience, which is the experience of observing, just observers, not impacted by whatever is happening to the field. So that's how we are like the servants as the third angel doing this work observing, and the plants as God's people experiencing what's happening in the field.
I'm still. So if the servants are the third angel, how how is the third angel God's people?
Or if the
Like
servants
I'm
are
still not
okay,
seeing
okay,
the direct
okay,
connection.
I get the question. If the third angel, how we are like the third angel as God's people?
Because I
Or
think we are saying the servants is the third angel,
yes,
and the third angel is God's people.
yeah,
So what's the connection between third
between,
angel and God's people?
because I asked the question when we talk about the third angel is a symbol in Revelation 14. Yeah? So it's a symbol of God, of what? God's people giving the message. Sinikweli? All Eremite will tell us so that the third angel are a symbol of God's people giving a message to the world. So that's how I connect the third angel being God's people, being servants doing our work.
I haven't understood how the sower and the plants are first and second angel, but maybe we can do.
Q&A. Yeah, yeah. I will try to see why the first angel is the sower and the plants being the second. Mangi? How the servants tested? The servants are not tested, they are testing. They are not testing, they are not judged, they are testing and judging. Yes, they are doing the judging. They are the one who is judging. Um, Ken, we can go with the servants being reapers.
Okay, me, just a point of clarification for you and the class. I learned my statement in the statement that they say in the morning. Naturally, a householder is having a vineyard, and this vineyard must be worked on
Mm-hmm.
with the time specification of time to be time. So he's not the one who is doing everything, but just servants. And these servants, their duty are defined by time.
Mm-hmm.
That was Paul's statement. So where I find difficult to understand, I wanted just clarification. Difficult to understand is that the work of the servant is not defined in the parable.
No, the work. It is.
No, they mean
They are not explained who they are.
who they are. But naturally, and even from what we are seeing, we are given a parable of our soldier. He's having a farm. One, he must sow. And from the explanation we had, the sowers are those who are with him.
Mm-hmm.
Senor,
Mm.
the reapers also, we expect, is those who are working for him. So my question is, are these sowers, are they not servants? Because you serve your master.
So you are using when you look at the reapers, they work.
Yes.
The servants, they work.
Uh,
So you want to merge them since now they are doing a work of the householder. They are servants in general. They are servants of the householder.
they are servants, but they are the kind of work they are doing is defined by time. There's time for reaping, there's time for sowing,
Mm-hmm.
and there's time for other things. That's what.
Yes, and I think the reason why we went through the subject of what we see, we is to just to, I think, to separate each and every subject that we see in the parable, that we can see the servants, we can see the reapers. Otherwise, Christ could have said that ama Jesus zote together the way you are saying, but Christ said kuna servants, this is what they are doing. Kuna reapers that are going to reap. So Christ did not say the servants are the ones to reap, or neither the, that one. So I think there must be the reason maybe why we have the parable that way for us understanding. Yeah. So I think your point that you want to make is now, since the reapers are working for the householder, the servants are working for the householder, and they are being, it is a matter of time that is separating them. Therefore, the reapers and the servants are the same. Yeah, but limited on the time. Marang, why did you make the reapers? How do you make the servants to be the reapers? Or rather, can we do that Q&A? We take it come a question because of time. Yes, Marang, you will explain it Q&A. So, Ken, you are writing the question. That's one of the questions. I think we can move on to what I wanted us to see. Unless we have, I saw, Esther, I saw your hand. Okay. So I want to further explain this concept that we have read here, that the plants are God's people, and God's people will be tested. So I just want to explore this, when God's people are tested and what's testing them, and when we have the period God's people are being judging or judged. Cindy, Nick, are you with us? Okay. So I just want us to read a quote, but before we do that, we can have the reform line of 144. Is there anyone whom I'm left out? I think the class is quiet. Festus, ukona sis? Ochora? Peki? The two Pekis. Are we with us? Okay. So we have the line of 144. 1989, 2001, Sunday law, cross of probation. Thank you. COP and Second Advent. I just want us to read a quote from Ellen White, 2SM. Maybe someone can read for us. 2SM. 80 paragraph 4. Maybe someone who is there can read for us. 80 paragraph 4.
QSM.
2SM 80 paragraph 4.
Several times during our conversation, which you became very much in earnest, you repeated the sentence, "For consistency, thou art a Jew." I repeat the same with decided force to you. You say that Allah's visions place the forming of the image of the beast at the probation process. It is not so. You claim to believe the testimonies. Let them set you right on this point. The Lord has shown me clearly that the image of the beast will be formed before probation process. For it is to be the great test for the people of God, by which their eternal destiny will be decided.
Thank you. So I think this is the Aaron White writing or conversation between Aaron White and a certain member that believes on the vision of Anne Phillips, yeah? And the vision of Anne Phillips is pressing the mark of the beast here. After cross of probation, that's where she marks the image of the beast. But Aaron White will say the testimony doesn't say so. So the testimony of Aaron White doesn't say so. Says that the image of the beast must come before the cross of probation because it is the greatest test, or it is the great test for God's people. So one thing that you can mark from, these are the same quotes, either you can find it here or last day events 227. So one thing that we find from this quote is the two things. I think I will mark two things. One, you have the image of the beast, and this image of the beast is formed, is going to be formed before cross of probation. I think we can be able to see that. Another thing is what, Joy? From the quote.
The image of the beast is
Image of the beast is great
great test.
test. Great test, Judy, for who?
God's people.
God's people. Two things that I got from that quote. The image of the beast must be formed before cross of probation. So it's being formed before cross of probation. And the great test the image of the beast is the great test for God's people. So where do we place now the great test? One thing that we know, it cannot go here, neither here. It has to be before the cross of probation. So where do we mark the great test? Peki, the first Peki. Peki Karumba. The image of the beast formed. So this is our line. We said they cannot, you cannot mark it here, neither here. Yeah? Here or here. It has to be before. So where do we mark that? Sunday law. Aaron White will do that for you. Sinikweli? Ama. So the great test plus also forming of the image. So this is where image is formed. Image of the beast formed. And this becomes the great test for God's people. So you can see God's people are tested here at the Sunday law. And the image of the beast is the great test for them. So speaking of the test, so can we all agree that with that concept? Justice? Is that okay? Faith? Okay. So the great test is the Sunday law, and the ones that are tested is who? Faith, we said who is who? Who are being tested? God's people. So God's people are tested at the Sunday law. So speaking of the test, so I just want us to have these thoughts before we move on to the second one, which I think the second one is where we cross. So speaking of the test, is connected with the nature of the test. So we can ask either, is this test moral or prophetic? Yeah. So can we mark this test moral or prophetic? Or both? And for us to answer this one, we can define this and this for us to make a decision whether the test is moral, prophetic, or both. So I want us to start with morality. Morality. What's morality, Esther? Morality ni nini? Right or wrong? Okay, I agree with that one. Nick, morality ni nini? You agree with this one? Anything else? Carl, morality? Right and wrong? Joy, morality? Okay, we are good to go. So right and wrong. I just want to add on that. It's not enough on that. So I just want us to get from the dictionary definition of morality. First, as you can read for us this. The definition of morality from Noah Webster Dictionary. Moral. You can find it moral. Yes, we don't have morality there, but we have moral as the root. Yeah? Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So your dictionary is saying that right and wrong in respect to conduct. Yeah. And I just want to write it here. So the reason why I chose this one, iko more detailed, I think. So morality is relating to practice, manner, or conduct, as the dictionary was saying, of people as social being in relation to one another and with reference to right and wrong. So I'll say morality is the conduct of people as social being. Social being is interaction, yeah, as social being, social beings in relation to each other, to each other in reverence to right and wrong. So it's a conduct of people as social being, how you interact with one another in relation to each other, yes, in reverence to right and wrong. So in summary, you can say morality is how you relate with one another in relation to right and wrong, yeah, that's morality. Prophecy, prophetic comes from the word prophecy. Prophecy, what is prophecy? Kodo, prophecy ni nini? Okay, prediction. Anyone else has another definition of prophecy? Ochora, prophecy ni nini? Divination of events. Yes, that's all. Okay. Yeah, it's a prediction, but I think someone can find that quote. Or Jora, you have it? What is the quote that's speaking about divination of events? What? Huh? 2 or 1 SM? 2 SM? 2 SM? 102, paragraph 1. So these are events, divination of events. But if we go to that quote, it's not any other event. It is special prophecies, which is special events or historical events. So having defined on that, now let's come to the test. So we are asking whether the test is both moral, prophetic, or both. Now, what conclusion can we make here? As we see, morality is the conduct or the manner of people as social being in relation to each other in reverence to right and wrong. While prophecy is the derivation of event that is leading us to the cross of time. So, question there, the test, what can we conclude? Esther, the test? Esther is saying the test, the conclusion based on the divination that we have seen here, she's making the test to be moral or what we call morality. So the test is moral. That's Esther. Anyone else? Nick? Test? Both? Mwangi? Mwangi, you are answering the question. Is the test moral, prophetic, both? The great test. Is it moral, prophetic, both? Going with the divination that we have here. Mwangi is thinking. Joy. Moral? Both. Who has otherwise? Becky? Mm. What is? You are not sure how the prophetic test looks like. Oh, okay. Okay. So for those people that are saying both, we'll explain us how it is both. Yeah. Okay. So give your thoughts. So it is. Uh, okay. So the test is moral. Simple. Okay. Okay. Mm, Festus, the last one. Then I go to those people that said um, both. Then I make my point on this. Is prophetic. Okay. You will make Peki understand the prophetic test how it looks like. Yeah. Okay. So Festus and those who said both. Carl, what did you think? Both. Both. Okay. So you are in that group of both. So for those that said both, now when we come to the test, how is the prophetic how is the prophetic test looks like? I start with Festus, Joy and Carl. Then I move on. Do you have thoughts? Is it a question? Will you hold? Because I think I'll hold up. So the clarification is here on the great test. Just mm. Where? Mm. No, the question was the great test. When you come to the great test, what is its nature? Is it moral or prophetic or both? And we said for us to answer that, let's try to understand the divination of morality, the divination of prophecy. Because prophetic comes from prophecy, yeah? Yeah. Mhm. Is trying to answer the nature of the test, which is the great test. Okay, let me summarize here. So you try to see whether you are connecting. So we got from 2SM 8 paragraph 4, the great test for God's people has to come before the Sunday law. And that great test is the image of the beast. Sindo. Then we said if that we have God's people having been tested, yeah? And now the question is, how is the nature of that test? Is it a moral or a prophetic or prophecy? Yeah. So we tried to say now, let's understand when we talk about moral, what we mean. You know, moral is a root word of morality, yeah? Morality comes from moral. So we define moral and prophecy. You have seen that. Okay. Yeah, Festus. Why are you saying the test is prophetic? How is that looks like?
So I think it's prophetic. There's a quote that
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether it's a quote that says that speaking about the mark, and it talks about the mark settling between spirit, is it intellectually and spiritually? So they cannot be moved.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the exact quote. So I believe that settling spiritually and intellectually, it's about seeing the prophetic text, whatever I'm termed as prophetic, is at that point. By the time now that test is being prepared, the Sunday law test, or the image of the beast test, or whatever test it is there, you need to have a correct understanding of the truths. Let me say on what the Sunday law is and what have you. So that's why I'm saying it's prophetic.
So you're saying you need to understand.
You need to be on the right side of the issue. That means what is that?
So you being right side of the issue is the test.
The prophetic mind, the prophetic test. I
Okay.
don't know where that quote is, but
Me last day events 219, I think. That's speaking about the searing. I think so. Okay. Anyway, I'll think about that one. Joe, you said Paul.
I think because from that quote we read, 2SM, the one that says prophecy is the directive delineation of events leading down to the close of this art's history. And then the next element adds that the scenes connected with the working of the man of sin are the last features plainly revealed in this art's history. So for me, a prophetic test is about understanding understanding time, understanding where you are in history, and understanding what prophecy says about, for if it's the man of sin, what is expected and how they are to act. So you need to understand where you are in history. So in short time, yeah, of course, in geography. So to understand what the subject of what prophecy is, and I don't think you can understand that without understanding prophecy. So for me, that's what prophetic is. It not be about right and wrong, but um, it's about understanding time and what the point of controversy is. And I think that's what actually maybe the whole of 2SM is about.
Okay. Mm.
on top of what Joy is saying, there's also another quote which talks about the deal of the mold before the deal of the beast. That character is developed, it cannot be changed. Before that was about the molding,
Mm-hmm.
you were you to the beast.
Isn't character about right and wrong? Isn't that right?
Yeah, it is more 50 to 60. Okay, Esther. Then I make a point why I think it's also both.
Not moral.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is moral because
Yeah.
prophecy is like having the information and then you make a decision whether to choose right or wrong. So prophecy is the impact, impact the information or the information, getting to know what okay, the whole prophecy, that delineation of events
Mm-hmm.
is like knowing where we are and all that. And then the morals and the application. How do you apply this information that you have gathered?
Okay,
Because
you.
if you have prophecy,
you are not experiencing. That's that's what you are saying. But you agree you need to get that event correct.
The prophecy is important, but what we see, the end product is the morality.
Okay, so can we discuss that one, whether it's both or moral or one, in Q&A for more information, yeah, so that I can finish what I wanted. So this one is pending. Ken, this one is pending. You're not writing the questions. So we can read this one to wrap up this one. I think this is what Ken was talking about. 5T 216 paragraph 1. What are you doing, member, in the great work of preparation? Those who are uniting with the world are receiving the world mold and preparing for the mark of the beast. Those who are distrustful of self, who are humbling themselves before God, are purifying their souls by obeying the truth. These are receiving the heavenly mold and preparing for the seal of God in their forehead. When the degree goes forth and the stamp is impressed, their character will remain pure and spotless. Now is the time to prepare the seal of God. You can read paragraph 1 and 2. So there is a time of preparation, and here, seal. The quote talks about two things: seal of God and mark of seal of God and mark of the beast. So from this preparation, we see two groups: those that are preparing to receive the seal of God, those that are preparing to receive the mark of the beast. So I mark this way mark Sunday law. So by the time you reach this way mark, I say this way mark, you have already made the decision. Because the activities that you are doing here, Steve, you can hear me? The activities that you are doing here determine which side you are in. Sindio Kevo? The side you are in. So I'll say in this preparation, you are making a decision. Ukifika hapa, it's either you are here or here. And I've marked here as the Sunday law, which Aaron White called the great test. So similar thing, when you come to this, our line, this will be Sunday law, the great test. We can use repeating pattern. We have the message here. So for you to pass the great test or fail it, this great test must have been in this dispensation. You are tested on the message that is in this dispensation. Si ndio code? So hiyo message haijakuja hapa. You have to be tested on the previous message that is here. And the message that we have here in our time that is going to, that maybe has tested God's people is this feminism. We have Boston, Concord, etc. Test. The message we have: feminism, radical feminism. So you are tested here, Esther, on which message? Esther, which message is testing you here? Radical feminism. So I said we will discuss the issue about moral, prophetic, or both later in the Q&A. So when we come to 2024, the Sunday law, the message that tested God's people is radical feminism. Yeah, that's the point I wanted to put across. So that is the message that tested us, that examined us. And you can examine whether the movement has passed the radical feminism or has passed the test. So in that same way, Mark, so that's one experience. We are tested as God's people. And we are like tumezoea kuangalia from only one aspect, that that aspect of us being tested. So I'll say in this same here onwards, I think we have another experience now, the experience of servants. Now, it is not that we are going to be tested in this dispensation, rather, we are doing the work of judging, we are examining of what's happening in the world. So, I will put one experience here. Plant, we were tested, and here we will be doing the work of testing or judging. Because when you look at Sunday Law 2024, we have Poston, Concord, etc. So the Poston is the unsealing of a message. So there is a message that is going to be unsealed. You can mark either the seventh kingdom, that is the message of the hour. Then as our work there is to do this examining the works of this seventh kingdom as this kingdom relates with the message of what? Equality. I think I will do the summary. I'll do the summary. So we were doing the study of the two experiences of God's people in the history of the Sunday law. Went to Matthew 13. Matthew 13 gave us the two aspects of God's people. God's people as the plants, God's people as servants. Sindio Gladi? God's people as plants, God's people as servants. And we saw when it comes to the plants, we experience what's happening in the world. When it comes to the servants, we don't experience what's happening in the world. We become examiners. We are examining what's happening in the world. So these are the two experiences. We connected Revelation 13:14 to make application of us as the plants being God's people, judged, servants, God's people. For those who are there, you are able to see the steps that we went through to come up with the servants to be God's people, doing the work of examining. We have come to the line of 144, where we see where do we have the great test? When do we have God's people tested, or the final test? It is the period of the Sunday law. So we have read from this quote where we were able to draw two things. The mark of the beast is formed before cross of probation, and the mark of the beast is the great test for God's people. So we tried to look at this exercise of the test being either moral or a prophetic or both, which I think we have not concluded, but we can conclude it at Q&A. So we read from 5T to 16, paragraph 1 and 2. There is preparation, and there is where you receive your, I think, your reward. So it is here that you are making a decision either to be sealed or to receive the mark of the beast. So we expanded this part, that is 2001 to the Sunday law is this part. So Ellen White said the great test, or the mark of the beast, waymark, is the great test for God's people. So we've seen one of the models that we have to understand the truth is the repeating pattern. Senior Judy, Boston, Concord, etc. Test. So the test is here. And we saw the message that tested God's people, the movement, is this message of radical feminism. He said that's one part. So we are tested, we will be testing. So in this dispensation onwards, we are testing, not tested. I think that's what we have covered. So I hope the conclusion has lined with the topic, the two experiences of God's people: being tested, being testing, judged, judging. I think we can stop there. Do you have questions? We can think of that. Maybe we can have the question Q&A. Let's pray. God, we give thanks unto you that we can be able to meet peacefully and fellowship with you, try to investigate the truth and what is required of us. As we meditate upon these two experiences of us, continue guiding us and give us more information on the same. Thank you, be with us, even with the programs that are remaining. May you bless the food that we are going to eat, is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.